Liz Peek is a contributor on Fox Business, and she joins us now to talk about a snapshot of where our American economy is today. She's one of the most informed people I know. Liz, if you go onto the internet, you can read people that say that we're about to enter the golden age. Particularly, that's what our newly elected president is telling us. Yet there are other people who are saying that we are in dire straits and this economy is about to collapse. We've got relatively high unemployment, high interest rates, consumer confidence appears to be waning. Where do you think we are, and what is your 6 month, 12-month outlook on our economy today?
Well, the bullish case for the economy certainly is very dependent on number one, Congress getting its act together and passing the Trump tax cuts, which, as we all know, expire next year. Kamala Harris wanted those tax cuts to expire. That would have been about a $3 trillion tax hike next year, and that would have completely pillared the economy, John. So it's incredibly essential that Congress gets together, they get this bill passed. Trump recently has come out in favor of one big, beautiful bill as opposed to the two bills that the Senate was trying to get through. But the bullish case is you do extend those tax cuts and that other tax cuts are included in that bill, such as lowering yet again the corporate tax rate so that our corporations are competitive with other developed countries. And also that there are no taxes on tips and various other things that Donald Trump campaigned on. I don't think those are particularly essential. I think what's really is essential is carrying through the 2017 tax cuts into next year. The other bullish aspect of a Donald Trump presidency, though, is the urge to deregulate. And I think it's very hard for people who don't run or own a business to know how damaging the tsunami of regulatory excess was that came out of the Biden White House. It's just exactly like what happened during Obama's presidency. Biden passed incredible numbers of rules and regulations about energy, trying to get the country moving away from fossil fuels, about labor. He was a very pro-union guy, and they passed all kinds of regulations about how the employer and the employee can interact, and it changed very much things like non-compete clauses. If you remember, they scrapped those. They were going to war against right-to-work states, or all kinds of things that, again, if you didn't operate a business or you weren't really involved in that, you might not be aware of it. But it was really difficult for corporate managers to kind of wade through all that stuff. The climate rules were awfully encumbering, and that became kind of a bigger and bigger issue as time went on. So, of course, Trump wants to take a meat axe to all those regulations that came about, and I think they have started to do that. I think that's incredibly powerful. Scott Bessent yesterday being the Treasury Secretary being interviewed by Brett Baird talked about the animal spirits reviving, that small business owners and managers were feeling more upbeat. That's really important. People don't invest unless they're optimistic. And then, of course, the other thing that Donald Trump campaigned on was unleashing our energy production in this country. It is true that oil production reached an all-time high under Joe Biden. A lot of that came about because of drilling projects that were undertaken when Trump was president. But there's no question that U.S. oil production is going to start to head down very quickly unless new territories are opened up. And of course, that's what Trump wants to do in Alaska and elsewhere. So I think that is exciting. Even more exciting probably is the opportunity to continue to expand LNG exports. That's something that was paused under Biden, which was honestly, of all the things he did, probably one of the most foolish, because the only people benefiting from our pausing our LNG export growth was countries that we don't get along with, like Iran. It was just stupid. And you look back at that, it was just a sop to the climate lobby, and it really was very antithetical to the best interests of the country. Anyway, all those things are going very well. What we have, though, is a problem, and the problem is $36 trillion plus in national debt. The government, the Doge effort is real. I think they're talking about already having brought down spending by about $50 billion. Democrats, incredibly, are resisting every step of the way. And I can't really think that Americans are anything but very happy to see our bloated, inefficient, overstuffed government brought to heel. And I say that with all due respect for those government employees who do a good job, but there are a lot who aren't coming into the office. There are a lot of people who are redundant. And I think it's fantastic that Elon Musk is tackling this. Actually, nothing makes me more positive than thinking we might get a grip on some of the excess spending that sort of characterizes our government right now.
I totally agree, and it's long overdue because the spending that our country is engaged in has got to just be utter recklessness. And
Yeah.
it seems like the people that are pulling the strings are either very incompetent or they're in on the take and don't want to cut off the money machine. I'm not sure. It may be a combination of the two. I personally have this belief that our federal government is absolutely corrupt to its core and it is in bad need of reform. And I think the only way we're going to get it is for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and the other warriors that Trump has assembled to get all the secrets out, give it to the American people, let us see what the truth is, and then deal with it after that. But I do want to ask you a question about Doge and the deficit, and this is just a curiosity that I've had, and I'm sure that my fear is misplaced. But what's the first thing that our government does when we get in economic trouble? We start printing money, right?
Right.
And
Of
that's called
course.
stimulus.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, and what I've been trying to sort out, we've got a $2 trillion deficit right now. Would that not be a stimulus to our economy, as inflationary as it is? What happens when you just cut that off and there is no longer a deficit? Do we get deflation? Do we enter potentially a recession if the government just shuts off that spending all overnight?
Well, it's interesting to me you raise this because very few people have questioned that. And of course, you're completely right. If you're a Keynesian economist, and most people who look at the economy have some confidence that a big bloated stimulus spending like that $2 trillion deficit is something that props up growth. In fact, I've argued that the only reason that the Joe Biden economy did as well as it did for 4 years is because they spent at levels that we usually see during recessions or wars.
Right.
In other words, it was unconscionable, John, and yet Democrats went along with it because they, as we now know, they were ceding so many of their own pro-left agencies and activities that kept them in power. It was when you have trillions of dollars to spend, guess what? It turns out well for your side. So you're completely right. If you eliminated that $2 trillion a year, this is every year, deficit overnight, it would be recessionary. It would definitely slow our growth.
I think the only counter to that would be if you could actually reduce true spending and have a net reduction in government spending. And if that money could then be sent back to the taxpayers, then I think that would set our economy on fire like we've never seen it before,
Yeah,
which essentially
correct.
is what the Trump tax cuts did in
Well, and
the
and I
first
would
term.
go a step further. What I actually was writing about before I spoke to you today is this very sort of out of left field idea that there should be a Doge dividend. They're talking about, and Elon Musk is investigating. It was not his idea, but he is on board with the idea that maybe 20% of the savings that the Doge team finds and can actually accomplish go back to shareholders. So if you actually save $2 trillion over the next couple of years, every family, every taxpayer would get a check for $5,000. Well, what's brilliant about that, several things. One is it just shuts up Democrats. I mean, if you have the whole country expecting to benefit money in the mail from this effort to cut government waste, everyone is going to be cheering on the Doge team, right? So that would be a huge public relations win. But the other thing is, indeed, as you cut down on government waste, that government waste is not productive money, but it is money that's out there, going to various people. Guess what? This $5,000 stimulus check, which is in effect what it would be an offset to some of that depressing effect of having less government spending. So is it a perfect match? No. But would it help? Yeah, I think it would. And boy, to your point, would it buoy the mood of America to say, you know what, these guys are saving us money as taxpayers and they're giving some of it back. I think it'd be awesome.
Well, and if the taxpayers get the money back, they're going to be putting it right back into the economy, and consumer confidence is going to soar, and the snowball starts rolling down the hill in a very positive direction. So I think it could be very exciting, and I think you make an excellent point. So next 180 days, interest rates up, down, sideways?
Well, I don't really see them coming down because I don't see inflation disappearing. Inflation ticked up a little bit in January. That doesn't worry me so much because January, that sort of typically always happens. But I don't see really any reason for prices to start coming down radically. And the Fed, I think, has sort of expressed its neutrality. I mean, I don't think they're in any race to cut rates. By the way, one of the Fed governors came out yesterday, said he didn't think that Trump's tariffs would have much impact on inflation. And that didn't, of course, get any notice whatsoever. But I think assuming that you're immediately going to see a price surge because of tariffs being implemented, I would be cautious about that. At this point, we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what the impact of various importers will be. But I'm hopeful that we don't see inflation go to 4 or 5% from currently 2.5 to 3. If it doesn't, there's no reason for interest rates to go up, but neither is there much reason for them to come down.
Yeah, I think sideways sounds like the answer. Liz Peek, thank you so much. Liz is a regular contributor on Fox Business. I get the pleasure of watching her frequently because the Mornings with Maria show that she appears on is one of my absolute favorites. And Liz, you have had such a wonderful career and enjoy such a great prominent spot in our you are part of the mainstream media. You're just on the good side of it. So thank you so much for coming on The Truth. We welcome you back anytime.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, John. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.